8 minutes past 8. I hope you have a brilliant Tuesday. Good morning to you. It's Breakfast with Trish. Now, our focus this morning is on the contaminated blood saga, because a Coventry man whose father died after being affected with HIV through treatment is supporting calls for a Hillsborough-style inquiry into the contaminated blood scandal. Jason Evans from Coventry told me earlier today that justice is needed for the 5,000 people affected.
We're at this point now where after kind of a year or two of research and lawyers and everything else that's gone along with it, I feel like we could be close to the beginning of the end. At least there needs to be, a full public inquiry into this now, with the statutory powers to compel witnesses under oath to release the documents and to get to the bottom of this. The amount of lives lost from this is more than all other public disasters within the last 30 years combined in this country, and how it hasn't happened so far is unbelievable, really.
And one of those lives lost was his father. An emergency debate is being held in Parliament this afternoon. The Labour MP Diana Johnson told the Commons there is a case for police to be brought in.
If this matter, the matter of a public inquiry, were to be put to a vote in this House, it would command the support of the majority of members of Parliament. For all the reasons I have outlined, I believe that we now need an emergency debate, and for the government to do the right thing and secure justice for those affected in this scandal.
Well, Lib Dem peer and former Home Office Minister Baroness Featherstone joins me now. Good morning, Baroness.
Good morning.
Latest estimates suggest the scandal has taken the lives of at least 2,400 people, including one of your family members. Can you talk about what happened to your nephew?
Yes, my sister's wonderful, gorgeous son, aged 35, lived with haemophilia all his life, contaminated by blood products with hepatitis C, and at 35 he died, leaving a 10-month-old daughter. And in my view, he was killed by the state.
Gosh, condolences to you there. I mean, it's just been an absolute mess, hasn't it? The allegations about the government and the NHS knew that these blood products were contaminated.
Yes, and so many of the documents the government had said were destroyed, particularly Dr. David Owen, who was Health Secretary at the time of this scandal, the worst treatment scandal in the history of the NHS. He was told that they were destroyed under a 10-year rule. I've asked parliamentary questions. There is no such thing as a 10-year rule. But the piece you read, the clip you just played from Jason Evans, is very telling, because during this research that's been going on for a year, a number of pieces of evidence have come to light. Letters, copies of letters between the Department of Health, the government, blood products, suppliers, all of those things, which show, they say, there's a contamination risk. We know about it, but let's carry on using it anyway. And at the time, the lie was, well, it's better to have the treatment than have to go into hospital for months, because this new treatment was fantastic for haemophiliacs. So going back onto blood transfusions would be a retrogressive step. But patients were never told, never given the chance. It was hidden from them. And of course, unlike the tragedies, the combined tragedies that you mentioned that don't add up anywhere near the 2,500 that have died from haemophilia, there is no film, there's no TV recording, there's no publicity, because haemophiliacs and people who receive blood transfusions have been dying over the 40 years since this cover-up went on. And so there hasn't been a moment when the government has had that incredible pressure that we saw with Hillsborough or Zeebrugge, or indeed the recent tragedy at Greenville.
So are you supporting a Hillsborough-style inquiry, Baroness, into this?
I'm supporting either a Hillsborough-type inquiry or indeed a public inquiry. Either would be a step forward. There is also in train a letter to government requesting a public inquiry, because people were killed by the government, and that requires, under the Human Rights Act, that contravenes, I think it's Article 2. But a Hillsborough-type inquiry worked for Hillsborough. And what it did, I think the fact that Andy Burnham, who was an MP, who led the Hillsborough charge, if you like, is now mayor in Manchester. And he has he says that he has a dossier of the evidence, the sort of evidence I'm talking about, which he is handing over to the police. So I think all of these things in train, whether it produces a Hillsborough-type inquiry or a public inquiry, the people who are involved in this and who over the years have really been fobbed off time and time and time again with little bits of well, they don't call it compensation, they help with your living and things like that because they're extremely bereft or damaged, need truth. There's never going to be closure on this until the government comes clean and admits what happened and admits the cover-up.
And just
people need closure.
And just hearing you say, these people were killed by the government, it's highly unlikely, though, isn't it, Baroness Featherstone, that, members of the government are going to be, taken into a dock and charged and go to prison.
Well, it happened in other countries. In France, the ministers were in court and did go to prison. And some of the doctors, or one of the doctors, I believe. And in other countries, there have been judicial penalties paid. In this country, there has been nothing. There has been no comeback for all those that were involved.
Okay. Well,
so the victims of this terrible scandal literally need their day in court.
Okay. Thanks very much. And like I say, it was so awful about your loss. Condolences to your family. The Lib Dem peer there and former Home Office Minister Baroness Featherstone. A Department of Health spokesman has said this. We have published all the information we hold on blood safety from the period 1970 to 1995 because we want to be fully transparent. We would happily look at additional sources of information or evidence going forward. And we will continue here at BBC Coventry and Warwickshire to follow this story, and Phil Upton on his show from 3:00 here on BBC Coventry and Warwickshire will give you the latest from that emergency debate to be held in Parliament this afternoon.